guys, welcome back to Hooked by Simplicio. This is Jelaine, and for today's tutorial I'll be teaching you guys how I made this top. There's just a little bit of a confusion on how I say the stitches, but I made it clear, so just follow like a little subtitle at the lower part of the video and you should be able to make this top. So I hope you enjoyed it. Since we're all locked down in our houses, I decided to make this tutorial just in case most of you are bored, you'll be able to make your top. So if you have any questions, you can reach me through my social media sites. I'll be posting it here and I'll be putting it on the description box below. And don't forget as well to like and subscribe to my channel and enjoy the tutorial. So the materials that we will be needing to make this project is 2 hooks. The first one is a 5mm crochet hook. This is for the sleeves and for the body of the top, and the 4mm crochet hook for the rib part of the top. Now you'll be also needing a yarn needle and you will be needing scissors. Now for my yarn, I've been using the same yarn that I've been using with all of my videos. This is an Indophil yarn. This is what we call it here in the Philippines. This is a 4-strand yarn. It's 100% acrylic yarn. I think they call it fingering yarn. I'm not quite sure. I don't have the weight for this as well because the seller of my yarn do weight this by kilograms, because whenever I buy yarns from her, I do buy at least 3 kilograms of different colors. So I'm not quite sure what kind of description I can provide you with the yarn that I'm using, but this is a pretty good yarn. It's actually good for dress and tops. And I like the color. It's a rosewood color, if I'm not mistaken. I'll be posting her shop on the description box below. This is not that kind of, no, it's not itchy at all compared to the acrylic yarns that we're using. But let's start with the video. But I want to show you guys first how I got the exact measurement for my top. So what I did first is I measure my shoulder, like shoulder to shoulder, for me to get the length, and it's 16 inches, and then I divided it into 4 and I got 4 inches. So that's where we're gonna start. That's the length of our chain needs to be. And for the height of the top, I measured it from my shoulder under my bust, which is for me is about 12 to 13 inches. So that's basically how you're going to get this top on your size, and I'll be providing more information throughout the video. But before we proceed with the tutorial, I recommend you measuring your shoulder to shoulder just to make sure you got the right length, and then divided it into 4. So first we're gonna do a slip knot. So I know most of you already know how I make my slip knot. I make an infinity sign, then I grab the end tail of the yarn, pull it like this, and then I put my hook in it. So the first size that we're gonna use is a 5mm crochet hook, and I'll be chaining 13 plus 2. There you go. And let me check if this is 4 inches. I got my, so this is like 4.5 inches. It's because we have like an additional two chains, but let's measure this again after we make our first row. So our first row here is we're going to do a half double crochet on the 3rd chain from the hook, which is this chain right here. So for you to make a half double crochet, you're going to yarn over, put your hook on this 3rd chain, grab a yarn, pull it through the chain, and you have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through 3. So that's how you make your half double crochet, and you're just gonna do a half double crochet across your chain, and you should have 13 half double crochets. Alright, so once you're done with your first row of half double crochet, I do measure this after I did that. So I do have exactly 4 inches, and I think I have the right measurement that I need. Now we're going to proceed with row 2 up to row 7, because I'm not going to do any changes on this row, but basically you're just going to do a simple half double crochet across. So you're just going to chain 2, turn your work, and this chain 2 doesn't count as a stitch, and you're going to make a half double crochet on this very first stitch across. So you're going to do this until you have 7 rows of just half double crochet. So go ahead and make your 7 rows of half double crochet. Once you're done, let's proceed with making the rest of the top. Okay, so I am actually done with my 7th row of half double crochet, and now we're going to proceed with the increase. So this is going to be the row 8 of the top. So I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to turn my work, and we're going to do a half double crochet across the stitch. And once you reach this very end of the stitch, you're going to put 2 half double crochets like that. So you won't see any increases yet, but that's the start of our increase. And on the next row, we're just gonna do a simple half double crochet row without the increase. Alright, so we're done on this part. Now on this next row, we're going to do another increase. So you're actually gonna do this row 8 and 9 until you have 31 rows for my size. So if you wanted to have like more coverage for your bust, especially for those bigger sizes, recommending you adding more or increasing more rows just to have a coverage that you needed for your bust area. So you're just gonna continue doing the increase and the increase row, and then just a normal half double crochet, increase, half double crochet. So we're gonna do that alternate for the whole row until you get 31 rows for this side of the top. Okay, my blue top is a bit short, so this one we're gonna make the dress a bit long, the top a bit longer, which I'm gonna show you that later on once we're finished with the whole top. So again, proceed with making the increase and then the non-increase row until you reach row 31, and after that I'm gonna show you guys how we're gonna make the other side of the top. Okay, so I am now finished on this row, and I ended up with a non-increasing row, and for my size you should have 25 half double crochet stitches on this row. So this is for size small, and then I'll be putting on the screen how many stitches you should have until you finish the top, but you have to make sure that you end your top with a non-increasing row. This is where the top should finish. Now for the last row, we're going to do a half double crochet without any increase. This is gonna be our 32 or our 32nd row. So chain 2 and turn and make a half double crochet across. Again, you shouldn't do any increases, just a normal half double crochet until we get to the end part. Alright, so I'm almost done on this row. There you go. So this is how it should look like, if you can see that there. So this is the first side of the top. Now we're going to do the other side, and on this part we're not gonna fasten off the yarn, we're just gonna continue making it. So we're going to do it reverse kind of thing. So on this part we started from this small part for it to become like this big. Now what we're gonna do is we're going to start from the big part and then we're gonna end up with the small part. So first, as I mentioned, you're not gonna fasten off, but you're going to chain 25 plus 2. So this is my first chain. It's 1. Alright, so I already have my 25 chains plus 2. Now we're going to do a half double crochet on the second chain from the hook. Now the trick here, instead of you doing a half double crochet in this loop right here, you're going to do half double crochet on this loop behind the half double crochet. If you could see that, this is the chain, this is the loop that I am talking about, this loop right here. So you're going to do this across this row. So again, you're going to do a half double crochet from the third chain from your hook, but not on this loop behind it. So you have to make sure you're counting every stitch that you're making to make sure that you have the equivalent or the same number of stitches from this side to the first one that we made. Okay, so this is my first half double crochet, second, so again, don't forget that you're going to do a half double crochet on the back loop of this chain, which is this one. So once you have done with creating the stitch, you should have something like this, which still looks like a stitch, not a chain. So we're going to make this until we have reached the end, or if we already have the same number of stitches from the previous part that we make. And after that, I'm gonna show you guys what is next. So I am now down to my last 4 stitches. So there you go, I already have the first side done. So this is 25 stitches, and you're going to do 2 more rows of 25 stitches on this part, because we just want it to be equal on this side. So no decreasing, because this part is going to be a decreasing part, not an increasing part. But this is our first row for this side. Now on the second and third row, you're gonna do like a simple half, just a simple half double crochet. Okay, alright, so I'm down on my last 5 half double crochet stitches. There you go. So I've already finished my 3 rows of half double crochet. Now the next row is gonna be a decreasing row. So for this row we're going to increase 1 stitch, and then on the next row we're going to do just a simple half double crochet. So it's pretty much the same thing on this side, but we're gonna decrease on this side instead of increasing. So let me show you how I do that. So on the 4th row you're just gonna chain 2 and you're gonna turn, and always keep in mind that the chain 2 doesn't count as a stitch. So this is the chain 2, and you're going to yarn over, put your hook through this first chain that you can see, yarn over and put your hook into this next stitch. So you should have 5 loops on your hook, and you're going to pull through all of those loops, and you're just gonna proceed with doing half double crochets. Alright, so I have 24 stitches on this row, and on the next row again you're gonna chain 2 and turn, and you're just gonna do a simple half double crochet across. So you're pretty much going to do this until you only have 13 stitches left, and after that, after you have done the increasing and non-increasing row, we are now going to proceed with the next step of creating this top. Okay, alright, so I'm now on my last row. So I have 13 stitches left in this row, and I ended up with a non-decreasing row. So you should end up your row here depending on how many chains you have started. So as I mentioned the first part of the video, you have to get the length of your shoulder and then divide it into 4, and then you have to make chains the same measurement of the one that you got when you measure and divided the length for your shoulder. So mine is a 13, so I already have 13 rows here. So I have to make 7 or 6 more rows here of half double crochet for me to finish this top. Once you're done here, you're just gonna chain 2, turn your work, and do 6 rows of half double crochet. Okay, so I am now down on my last row here for just a simple half double crochet across, and we have to make sure that we have 32 rows all in all for this side of this top, just to make sure we have everything even and correctly. Alright, so that's my last stitch. I'm just gonna chain. I'm not gonna fasten off yet. I want to count the rows that I have for this side to make sure that I have 32 stitches, okay, or 32 rows rather. Alright, so I do have 32 rows, and now we're gonna fasten this off. and we're just gonna secure this part. Okay, so this is the front panel of our top, and now we're gonna do the back panel. So this one has a total of 50 stitches, and we are going to do the same thing for the back panel. So we're going to do 50 stitches for that. So for the back panel, we're just going to do simple half double crochets, but for this we're going to chain 50 plus 2. Alright, so I already have my 50 chains plus 2, and now we're going to do a half double crochet on the third chain from the hook. And again, just like what we did on the front panel, we're not going to do the half double crochet stitch on this loop here, but we're going to do the half double crochet stitch on this back loop here of the chain. Okay, so I already have my first one, and we have to make sure that we're gonna end up with 50 half double crochet across. Okay, I am now down on my last 3 half double crochet stitches here. Now for this second row, we're just gonna do a simple half double crochet across. We're not gonna increase, we're not gonna decrease, but we're going to do half double crochet until we have reached row 32. And again, this is for my size. So basically, the base of your top, the front panel and the back panel should have 50 stitches in total. So that's like the size that we need for size small, and this is for my size. For the back panel, I'll be also putting numbers right here of how many rows you should start for creating your back panel. Okay, so just continue doing a simple half double crochet until you reach the same rows that you have with your front panel. After that, we're gonna stitch them up together, and then we're going to proceed with finishing our top. Okay, so I am now on my 31st row, and I still have one more row to go. After this, we're gonna sew the top all together. Okay, alright, so I'm now on my last few stitches here for my 32nd row. So I always count my rows here to make sure I have 32 rows. Same thing with my stitches, so let me just count that really quick. Alright, so I have 32 rows and I have 50 half double crochets here on the top. So now I have to measure the length of my top. It needs to be around 12 to 13 inches. So as per checking here, I only have about 11 and a half, but after we have sewn this all together, I'm still gonna add a few rows for my top here. So it's not that short, but this is the front panel. This is the back panel. So now I'm going to do a slip stitch. I'll be cutting a little bit long yarn tail here for me to sew the top part of my top since done. Alright. Alright, so first let's sew the top part of our top, which this two right here. So we're going to sew this together here on the top, and then I'm gonna show you guys how we're going to sew the bottom part of the top. Okay, so grab your yarn needle, and we are going to sew this top together. And I think I already know what is the call for this stitch. You're going to do a mattress stitch for all of our project here. So let me sew that here. So I'm done on this side, and you're just gonna do the same thing on the other side. And after that, I'm gonna show you where we should put, or how long or how big we should put the armhole for our top. Okay, alright, so I'm done with stitching the top here. Now we are going to start to put the armhole. So what I do is I measure my armhole, and mine is about 14 or 15 inches, and I divided that into two, but I'll leave about 8 inches because I want my sleeves to be loose. If you don't want, you can just stick with 7 or 6 inches. That's a bit tight, but for me, I want mine to be loose, so I'm gonna stick with 8 inches. Now I'm just gonna grab my stitch marker, and I'll be putting the stitch marker where I should end stitching for my top. Okay, right, so I do have now my stitch marker, and this is where I'm gonna start with measuring my top, and then this is where I should end. So I'll be putting my stitch marker just right here, and same thing on the other side. So now we're going to stitch this again. Since we already have a marker, we're gonna start stitching from this up here, and this is where we're gonna end. And then after that, we're gonna add a few more rows of half double crochet here, and then we're gonna start the ribbing part for this. And we're also going to add some stitches here as well, but first let's grab again a yarn needle. Let's thread a yarn enough for our two sides, and we're just gonna do another mattress stitch, if I say that right, but we're just gonna do that again. And I am going to start on this side. So just continue stitching from here until your stitch marker, and then once you're done with that, we are going to add, or I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna add my rows down here to make my top a little bit longer. So just proceed with stitching up both sides of your top, and then once you're done, get back to me. We're going to do the bottom row of the top. Okay, so I am now close to my stitch marker, and we are done on this side. Now I'm just gonna fasten this off and hide the yarn tails. Alright, so I am now done on this part. I already have my armhole, which is perfect for me. So this is the inside of the top, and this is the outside. And this is where we're going to do adding few more rows of half double crochet for the top. So this is what it looks like. Now let's add a few more rows here of half double crochet. I'll be adding 4 rows of half double crochet. I'll be using the same size hook. I'll be using the same size hook, which is 5mm crochet hook, and just gonna do a slip knot as always. And I'll be finding, or I'm going to look for a stitch here on the side where I did the stitch to combine this top together. So I might put it here on this loop right here. And I'm just going to chain 2, right? And then I'm just gonna do a simple half double crochet across this row. And it shouldn't be that hard for you to find the stitches, because we made like a half double crochet on the back loop of the chain, so it's easy for us to find the stitch, and that should be easy. So just make 4 rows of half double crochet. After this, come back here and we're going to do the ribbing part of the top, and after that we're going to do the dress, the sleeves. Okay, so I am now done with this first row of half double crochet around the lower part of the top, and now I'm just gonna do a slip stitch on the top of the chain 2. There you go. And just proceed with adding 3 more rows, and after that we're gonna do the ribbing part. Okay, so I am now done on my 4th row for doing half double crochet around the lower part of my top. So we're not gonna fasten this off because we're going to do the ribbing part of the top, what it looks like now. So it looks longer than earlier, so this is what it looks like. And now we're gonna do the ribbing part. So from the 5mm crochet hook, we're going to change our hook to the 4mm one. If you can guys see that, the sizes on my hook are not very clear, but we're going to do the ribbing part. Right. So we're going to do a chain of 8. So it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. And after chaining 8, we're going to do single crochet across this chain, and you should end up with 7 single crochet stitches. There you go. And for this part right here, we're like going to decrease. So we're going to put our hook through the stitch, yarn over and pull it through the stitch, put your hook on the next stitch, yarn over, pull it through the next stitch, and you're going to pull through all 3 stitches. So it's like 2 single crochet together. Okay, and then you're gonna chain 1, you're going to turn your work, and you're going to do a single crochet on the back loop of the single crochet. So normally we have like the V thing for the stitch, which is this one, as you can see, the letter V. But instead of going through both stitches or going through both the letter V thing, you're just going to put your hook through the back stitch of the single crochet, and you have to make sure you have 7 single crochet across all the time so you won't lose count. And you're going to do this around the bottom of the top to make it look like a ribbing. So let me show you that again of how I make the ribbing. So don't forget to chain 1 on this part, and you're going to do a single crochet at the back of the single crochet stitch. So I already have my 7 stitches for this row, and we're going to do 2 single crochet together for this end part, or on this part right here, and pull through 3 loops, and then we're gonna chain, and we're just going to do this around until we have reached the end. Then I'm gonna show you guys how we're gonna finish this ribbing part. Okay, so the reason why I'm doing like 2 single crochet together at the end of this row, or once we get into this part, is because if you do a slip stitch or the ribbing part for each stitch right here, it's gonna loose, or it's gonna look loose, and for me it doesn't look nice at all. I just want the ribbing part of my top to look a bit tight, so it doesn't look too loose. And so once I have finished this, I'll show you later what I mean by I want it to be a little bit tight, because if this is completely done, you'll see that it's not super loose, because if you do just slip stitch on each stitch, doesn't look good. But again, let's just finish this row, and then I'll show you guys how I end this part. Okay, so just a little note here that every time you do a single crochet, you have to make sure you have 7 stitches in a row. And yeah, because sometimes I do make mistakes. It turns out to be 8 single crochets because I'm accidentally putting a single crochet on this very last stitch, which is our slip stitch. So you're not supposed to put in any stitch on that row. And also, aside from that, you also have to make sure that you're putting a stitch next to the first stitch where you did 2 single crochets together, because as you can see on this one, sorry about that, that's my baby. But on this one right here, as you can see, this one right here still looks like a stitch, but this is a stitch connected to this row. So you have to take a look at it carefully as well, because you don't want to make 2 half double crochets on the stitch that is already connected to the first or previous ribbing that you have made. Okay, so I just finished this row for my ribbing, and now we are going to close the ribbing part. So before we do that, I will put my shirt or the top inside out, and I am going to do a slip stitch on each stitch of the first slip stitch that we made and the last row. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you. So I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to put my hook on this very first stitch here. And I'll be putting my hook through the very first stitch on the last row that we have made for the ribbing, which is this one. You can see that, this one. And we're gonna grab a yarn and then pull it through both stitch, and we're going to do a slip stitch right here. So we're just gonna do slip stitch across the row. So let me show you that again. Put your hook through two of the stitch right here, and yarn over, pull through, and slip stitch. So you're just gonna do this across until you have reached the end. Now I'm gonna chain one, and we're gonna fasten off, and we're gonna hide the tail ends later on. But here how it looks like. So just turn your work, and this should, the bottom part of your top should look like. And before we proceed with the sleeves, I am going to show you guys how I add my 3 single crochets on this part of the top. So I'll be using my 4mm crochet hook, and we're gonna start with a slip knot. And I'm going to look for a stitch right here on the right side, and we're just gonna put single crochet on each of the stitch. But first, let me do my stitch here. We're gonna chain one, and I'm just gonna do a single crochet on each stitch across. But when we go here, I'm gonna show you guys how I'm gonna do it on this part, and then we'll proceed on making the rows for the V-neck of the top. Okay, right, so I am now on this last stitch here of the V shape of my top. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna do a single crochet 2 together on this side and on this other side. So you're just gonna do a 2 single crochet together, and then after that you're just gonna do a simple crochet across the top. So I've already reached the end here of the V shape of the top. And now I'm just going to chain one, turn my work, and then just do another single crochet around the V shape of the top. So once we get close to the part where we did a 2 single crochet together, you're not going to do anything, you're just going to do a simple single crochet across the V shape until you get to the other part of the top. Okay, so I just finished this 3 single crochets on the neck part of the top, and I did cut a short tail here where I can sew this here at the back panel for me to be able to make sure it stays here at the back. If you want to keep it like this, that's okay, but for me, I'm gonna sew it here at the back panel of the top. And this is what it looks like now, and we're going to start the sleeves part. So for the sleeves, I I'll be using my 5mm crochet hook again, and the length of your sleeves depends on your preference, so it actually depends on you on how long or how short you want it to be. But the sleeves for this top that I made is for loose sleeves, but here what it looks like. I don't have the other top right now, but I'll show that maybe in my intro or the last part of my video. But for now, let's just start with the sleeves. Go ahead and grab your 5mm crochet hook again, and we're going to start the sleeves, and the stitch that we're going to use for this part is double crochets. So I normally start here, and I just look for a chain like this, if you can see that, but let me zoom you guys in. There's a stitch right here, so this is a chain, and this is where I'm going to put my double crochet. So I'm gonna do like a slip knot or a slip stitch rather, and I'll be chaining 3, and I'll be putting double crochet on the same stitch where the chain is, and I'm just gonna do half double crochet across or around the sleeves. Okay, so once you have reached the end, I'll show you guys how we're going to do the next part of the sleeves. So we have now reached this first row for our sleeves, and the second row until you reach row 15 is just going to be pretty much the same. So you're just going to do double crochet around the sleeves until you reach 15 rows of double crochets, and then after that we're going to proceed with the cuff or with the ribbing part of the sleeves. Now for the length of your sleeves or how long you want it to be, it actually again it depends on you. If you want it longer than mine, then go ahead and just continue making 5 more rows or 10 more rows of double crochet. But for me, I just want it to be 15 rows of double crochet because I don't want my sleeves to be too long for this top. But go ahead and finish the sleeves for your top. I am now done on my 15 rows of double crochet for the sleeves, and the next part that we're gonna do here is we're going to decrease. So I'll be doing 3 rows of decreases, so I'll show you guys the first row. So once you're done with your 15th row, you're gonna do a slip stitch slip stitch on the top of the chain 3 that you made earlier, and you're gonna chain 3 again, and you're going to count 4 double crochets. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now for the 5th stitch, you're going to make a 2 double crochet together. So how do you make 2 double crochet together? Yarn over, put your hook through the stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over and pull through to that loop, and then you're just gonna do it on the same stitch again. Yarn over, let me show you that again. Yarn over, put your hook through the stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over and pull through all the stitches. So you have 1 stitch for 2 double crochet. So this is like the kind of decrease that we're going to do. But for this first row, you're going to start decreasing, or you're going to decrease on the 5th stitch. So you're just gonna count 1, 2, 3, 4, and on the 5th stitch you're just going to do a double crochet 2 together, and that makes your 5th stitch. So you're just gonna do this across the sleeves, and once you get to the end, you're just gonna do a slip stitch at the top of the chain 3, and I'm gonna show you the next row. Okay, alright, so I just finished my 16th row. Now I'm on my 17th row. It's pretty much the same, but this time you're going to do your decrease on your 4th stitch. So chain 3, then count 1, 2, 3, and this is the part where you're going to do the double crochet 2 together. So I've already showed you earlier how you're going to do your double crochet 2 together. You're just gonna do that again, but you have to make sure you're going to do that on your 4th stitch. So let me show you that again. So this is 1, 2, 3, and this is your 4th stitch, which is our 2 double crochet together. Do it around the sleeves, make a slip stitch on the top of the chain 3, and then I'm gonna show you our last decrease row. Okay, so I just finished my 17th row, and I just did a slip stitch on top of my chain 3, and again you're just gonna chain 3 and then make double crochets on the next 2 stitches, and then on your next stitch you're going to do a 2 double crochets together. So you're gonna do this on the 3rd stitch. So let me show you that again. This is my 1st stitch, 2nd, and this is my 3rd, which where I'll be doing the 2 double crochets together. So do this around the sleeves. Once you get here, you have to do a slip stitch on top of the chain 3. Then after that, we're gonna change hooks, and we're going to do the cuff or the ribbing of the sleeves, which I've already done one off cam. This is the other part of the sleeves. So the ribbing part for the sleeves is pretty much the same with the one that I showed you earlier, which is on the lower part of the sleeves. We're just gonna do pretty much the same thing on this one, but I'll show you guys later on, so you'll be able to see that again. So just proceed with your 18th row. Once you're done there, we're going to do the ribbing part all together. Okay, so I'm actually done on my 18th row, which is our last row for decrease. So for this part right here, it actually doesn't matter if you end up with just a double crochet or 2 double crochet together, because mine, I didn't end up with 2 double crochets together but a single crochet, but that's okay. So since I've already finished my 18th row, I already did a slip stitch on the top of my chain 3. I'm gonna change my hook to my 4mm. So from 5mm crochet hook, we're going to change it to the 4mm crochet hook. You won't be able to see that because the sign on my hook is not much visible with my camera. So now I am going to do my ribbing part. So I'm just gonna chain 8. So once you got your chain of 8, you're going to do a single crochet on the 2nd chain from your hook, and you're just gonna single crochet across, and you should have a total of 7 crochet stitches. This is gonna be the first row for our ribbing. So once you reach this part right here, you're going to do a 2 single crochet together, or it's just like 2 stitches together, but instead of single crochet you're gonna do a slip stitch. So I've already got the 2 stitches here. Let me show you that again, how I got them. So on my very last or my 7th single crochet stitch, there's 2 stitch here. I'm going to put my hook through that stitch, yarn over, pull through, put my hook on the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all the stitches, and then chain 1. And you're just gonna switch your work here, or you're gonna turn your work around, and you have to make sure that you have 7 stitches, not 8, because if you have made 8 single crochet stitches, meaning to say you accidentally made a single crochet stitch on your slip stitch, which we're not supposed to do that. So let's go ahead and just do a single crochet on the back loop only. So after we did the first row, we're gonna do the second row, and we're gonna do a single crochet on the back loop only, which is this one. Let me show you guys. So if you can see the stitch right here from the V shape or form of the stitch, you're just gonna put your stitch on the back loop of the single crochet, because normally we usually put it on these 2 stitches, but we're just gonna put it on just 1. So you're just gonna do this all over the sleeves part, and then once you got to the end, I'll show you guys again how we end up, or how are we gonna end our cuff part of the sleeves. We're gonna fasten off, and I'm gonna show you how this looks like after. Okay, so I just finished the last row of my ribbing here, so I can't really put this or flip it inside out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure that outside is facing together, and I already made a chain 1 on my last stitch, and I'm gonna turn my work, and then I'm gonna insert my hook on the very first stitch here from the chain that we made first time. So it's kind of hard because it's already getting dark, but there. And you're gonna insert your hook from, this is it, this is the first, this is a stitch, and you're just gonna grab your yarn, pull through, and you're just gonna make a slip knot, right? So you're just gonna do this until you reach the end of the row. There you go. So that's our very last stitch. So I'm just gonna do a slip stitch, and I'm just gonna fasten this off. I'm gonna grab my scissors. And this is how it looks like. Just hide your tail ends, which I'll do that later. But this is the finished product. This is the front part of the top. This is the sleeves. This is the other sleeves here. So just finish everything, then hide your end tails, and we're done. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe and like my video. Just comment down below what tutorial you want me to do the next time. And again, if you have questions, you can always reach me out through my social media sites. I'll be more than happy to help you with that. But again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. You have a great one, everyone. Bye.